So hello, we're in not in Hawaii. There's palm tree and white sandy beach, but in Spain, in Noia, and it's just north of Saint-Brieuc, just after Cape Finisterre. We arrived yesterday morning, early morning, and yeah, the leg was another good one. Left Saint-Brieuc not in a very good state because it was a big festival there, and I happened to have a apartment just above where all the concerts were happening, and there was really nowhere else to go, and music until 1:30 in the morning. So when you arrive sleep deprived, it's quite complicated to sleep for the only 3 nights you have on land. So I left Saint-Brieuc, I was really tired. It's not an excuse, but yeah, I was just really tired, so not really in it, and it's a bit hard. Didn't have such a great start, but then after a couple of hours, got back in the race really well and sailed really well first day along the northern coast of Brittany with all the current and the transition, good pressure at the start, light wind afterwards. It was really cool, really interesting. I was mindful of having a massive lack of sleep compared to normally I would leave for a leg. So I was trying to rest when I could and not lose too much. So I think I managed that quite well. But then we arrived in the northern tip of Brittany and Ushant, and there was sort of 2 passageways where we could go through to get the most out of current before we head towards Biscay and into the strong downwind conditions. I was really close to the top, like in the top 20, and sort of 15 boats went left in the chenal before, and then some of the lead boats took off and went into close to Ushant, close to the island, and there definitely but lack of maybe being alert. I was like, okay, I'll go near Ushant, and from the routing we had a couple of days before the start, and looking at what we needed to prepare to get into the stronger wind of Biscay, and I made the decision, didn't really think twice about it, and there were some really good guys going that way as well, and turned out was not the right way to go. We lost about 10 miles, I think, on the guys. They were more south. We thought the pressure would come from being north of the rum line. It turns out there was more pressure south of it because of the acceleration going round northern tip of Brittany. And I jibed to try and go south a bit more, and looking at the routing and the ISO route it was giving us, it was definitely saying, okay, maybe don't go too far north. But the damage was done, and it was a little bit hard to swallow that. You lose so much in so little time, but they had more current for longer. And yeah, so after that, it was all about, putting this behind you and managing the stronger pressure in Biscay. I hadn't had much of that since I started the Figaro for 2 years. We didn't really have a really strong 35 knots downwind condition with the sea state that goes with it. We have up to 3.5 meter waves, and then they short, sharp waves from Biscay, not really long swell. So it had to be a balance about finding the right autopilot trimming settings. So the boat was going fast, surfing, but also not wiping out and being under control. So it was a little bit of playing with that, bit of playing with, you should have some rest, because we knew the last sort of 100 miles you had to be on your toes, because there was a lot of transition coming. First of all, the continental shelf dropped. So there's 4,000 meter depths in Biscay, and then about 100 miles from Finisterre it comes up really sharply to 200 meter. So the sea state there gets usually quite nasty. And so you had to do that, and all the transition to come to Noia. So I was like, okay, I've got to rest while I can when I go downwind, and it was a matter of how hard you push versus you don't want to break the boat, because it's very easy. It was all about learning and trying to find the best compromise, and not breaking anything. We saw some guys arriving here with broken spinnaker, broken spinnakers, spinnakers wrapped around their forestay, and they had to sail probably 60, maybe 100 miles like that. So yeah, pretty happy it went for me with the gear. And yeah, I think if I'd leave tomorrow again for the same condition, I would push harder, because I'd know better. So yeah, it was good learning curve, and then the arrival I was happy because that I managed quite well, because I had managed to rest a little bit. So then I was able to go through all the transition very well. you know, it was dropping from between 5 knots to straight away going back to 30 because of all the big headlands there is at Finisterre. So it was quite interesting, and yeah, happy to arrive here. And then we're about 2 days from starting the next leg, so it's all about getting a bit of rest and checking the weather forecast, and then on we go again. And so for me, the Solitaire, it's not, the first 2 legs didn't really go how I planned, and I'm like, okay, let's not worry about this, let's just take a leg like if it was a new race start every time, don't really worry about the overall ranking. And then I hope, like, I want to do a really, really good leg, and hopefully I'll do that, and then yeah, just one step at a time.